Trudi. Welcome to the Retail Whore Podcast.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to you too for being here.
I'm super excited to do this because when we met, I think we met in Vegas, correct? Or was it met in Vegas, saw each other in New York? You are just like one of the smartest people and you're so funny. And it seems that you work for the perfect company for your personality.
So I found this company 6 years ago and I fell in love first with their tagline, which is thoughtful gifts for thinking people. And I couldn't imagine what that is. And then I got to their showroom and I saw finger puppets and mugs that transform and soaps like Lady Macbeth out damn guest spot soap. And I said, that's it. I'm done. This is my stopping place. No turning back. This is all I want to do.
So I'm going to have you introduce yourself, but you are with Unemployed Philosophers, but you have a pretty lengthy background in publishing, which I was like, oh my gosh, Harry Abrams. So tell everybody, introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and give us a little background on how you ended up where you're at now.
Sure. So my name is Trudi Bartow. I've been doing this for blah, 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 blah years. We'll nicely say 20. That sounds like a good whole number. And I started in publishing, I will say, before it was the golden days before Amazon was really a thing. And people were happy to drop $200 on a coffee table book. So it was an absolutely amazing experience. And we specialized in these big oversized luxe coffee table books that were Richard Avedon photography, or the history of the Louis Vuitton suitcases, or how the Chanel accessories. Or I remember once we did a book on the pins of Madeleine Albright. I mean, really absolutely coffee table books. And special markets, which is the gift industry, that's what publishers like to call non-bookstore channels, was really just starting. It was really an afterthought in every publishing house. And there were some very innovative people at Workman and Story that were working really hard behind the scenes to place books in non-traditional book retailers. And that's really where I grew up and fell in love with it and tried to be creative. How can we pair a beautiful fashion photography book with a store like Anthropologie? What's their color theme? How are they thinking? Putting the right cookbook in a Williams Sonoma, looking at all the independent mom and pops and thinking, how can we just be an add into their basket? They're selling cookware and tea, and how can we make a gorgeous interior design book work for them? And that's where I spent a good long period of my childhood. I worked at Abrams, I worked at Storchaburi and Chang, Macmillan, HarperCollins,
Holy
Sterling.
moly.
I worked everywhere. Publishers like to, I don't say jump ship, but we like to explore the seas. And it's a sort of a transferable knowledge. So once you've got the skill sets, you can really make your way in any house and play in all the different genres.
It's really interesting to me because, I know publishers, like there's a rep at Stephen Young, and when I've heard people talk about how she curates their book collections and how knowledgeable she is, I don't even think about that as a buyer or as a merchandiser. I'm just like, kind of what you're talking about, curating some of these books for the Neiman Marcuses and the fashion houses and Williams Sonoma. That's to me, the original where cross merchandising started, where you're pairing cookbooks and tabletop, and you're pairing fashion and cocktail and coffee table books about fashion. It seems like really, but it's really interesting, the knowledge that publishing people in the publishing world, like what you guys bring and how you actually curate buys for people. Because I'm just like, oh, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Not that I don't have a rhyme or reason, because I am curating kind of as I go along, but like you really, publishing houses and people really, do you have to know every single book in your, I would guess so, in the collection? What does that look like?
So yeah, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of you don't have to know everything, but the more you know, the better you can service your client. So I feel like in any industry, no matter what you're selling, the more knowledge you bring to the table, the more, and you sort of actively listen to what your customer is telling you, the more you become this amazing rep at Stephen Young. I know exactly who you're talking about, who has like an encyclopedic knowledge of everything. So
Please say her name just so everyone knows, because I can't remember her name. She's not my rep.
her name is Linda Parent. She
That's
is top notch, one of the just the smartest book
Yep.
people you'll ever meet. And what I love about her, she's an active listener. And that's, I think, really, really crucial. And once again, it's focused in the gift industry or anywhere else that you are. An active listener can hear what you're saying. So if you sit down with a retailer and they tell you, these are my trends, these are my concerns, these are my pain points, this is what sells the best. Somebody who then has this encyclopedic knowledge of publishing can say, okay, I'm going to pick you this author who speaks to your audience. I'm going to pick you this book because of this author's collection, because the colors match the theme that you're serving right now. And the graph on this is going to fit right into this section you're putting together with your plants and your llamas and your stuffed, beanie babies or whatever they are.
You
and
are speaking my love language. Okay, I just want to go back and touch base for 1 second on what you just said about being an active listener, because, and I have reps that I love that listen to what we're saying, and I have reps that literally don't listen to what we're working on or haven't been in the store, and they're like, this is the top seller. And when I was with the store called Sweet XO, it was like we were a candy and ice cream shop. We sold a shit ton of gifts, but I had reps, like apparel reps. Some of them were like, these like whatever panties that roll up into a little ball look like candy. I'm like, it's a candy and ice cream store. Like, and I've said to reps, like, please come in the store and please see what we're doing, so you can understand where I'm going with the buys, that this is not, and literally, like, it falls on deaf ears. And it's like that active listening thing. Like, thank you for saying that, because I think that is like a huge benefit to retailers when you have an active, and retailers for their customers, same thing.
I was on a webinar not that long ago, and someone used the phrase, you can't just show up and throw up. Which like what you're getting, right? Like a rep is like so excited to show you all the best sellers. So they show up with their catalogs and they pull out, here's the top 10 things, and this is what you have to have. And before you can even catch a breath, they've shown you 100 different things and you don't know what you're looking at. But they haven't taken the time to see, okay, everything in here is pink. Everything in here has glitter. Everything in here is for this age, this demographic, this customer.
Oh my God.
You can't curate, right? Like, this is a curate experience. If I want to sort for the happy moment, I'll go to the value store and I'll look for what's on sale and I'll have a whole treasure hunt experience. But when I walk into independent retail, this is me, but I'm going for their aesthetic. They've already curated it. They've told me what to buy. They've told me this is the best of the best in the bath bombs and the cards and the luxury throws. So you don't have to go anywhere else. Just pick from me. And it's that curation that is so important, and that sort of trust in relationship.
Okay, reps, will you listen to that, please? Oh my God. Okay, so how long and why did you end up leaving the publishing company to jump ship and go to a gift company?
So it's one of these like sort of magical stories. I was working at Sterling Publishing, which is actually owned by Barnes and Noble, and I had transitioned away from special markets into their more money-making platform of selling to bookstores, because I'm a good salesperson. So you just get promoted and promoted up. But I missed sort of the glitz and glam, and I missed that close relationship of gift. So I wasn't looking for anything. I had just actually come back from a buying trip overseas at the Beijing Book Fair, and I get a phone call out of the blue from one of my partners and said, do you want to hear about an opportunity? Huh. And I said, I always want to hear about an opportunity. Always, always. My ears are open. My eyes are wide. Tell me. And they said that there was this company called the Unemployed Philosophers Guild that was really fun and really niche, and was looking for an exceptional salesperson. And I went on their website, and it was just, like I said, it was love at first sight. It was so fun, all their products. And then I worked in Midtown Manhattan, power suits, high heels, makeup, you did your hair every day. You always got your gel manicures on. And I walked through this great little small office in Brooklyn on a tree-lined street. Everyone was really casual. And I sat down with the owners of the company, two brothers who founded the business, once again, 20 is a good number to say, 20 years ago. And we're still there and still active and still involved. And every minute with them was like a homecoming. And I said, I want to sell these products. I want to get back in gift. I want to sell. I want to have fun. I want to have these great connections. And 6 years later, here I am, still here, still in love.
I love the line. It's funny. It's like I'm every single show, I'm so drawn to it. And I haven't had a chance to write it because I concept stuff. I mean, coming from Fred Siegel into anthropology, like I still very much buy the way I merchandise, and I will curate collections where, just what you were saying, where it goes to the store and then we curate new collections each season, and we have some that carry through. Please pay no attention to my dog barking in the background. Everyone's used to her here at the podcast. And even though I've moved my office out further from the house, she still finds a way to make herself.
I put the cats away so that you won't all of a sudden see a tail come running.
We're very pet friendly here. So, but, I've always loved the product, and I couldn't figure out where it is. And a lot of my stores sell it that I don't do their curation for. So Serendipity did all of the, all like the Ruth Gaynor, like I'm like
the Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah, we
like
female empowerment.
She did a big female empowerment group for the last 2 Christmases, and then she paired it up with some of the felt ornaments from other people, and it was such a great collection. And every single show I stop and I'm like, I finally wrote it, and I'm so excited. But tell me a little bit about, because it seems like to me a very seamless move from publishing to there, because it's very smart. They're very smart gifts. They're smart and they're kind of cheeky, but they're very smart. I mean, they're philosophical characters, they're public characters, they're political characters. Like, tell me a little bit about, because like you said, it's everything from finger puppets to now zip pouches that I wrote. Like, so tell me like how the collection started, and like where, from when you came in and to where it is now, like what have you kind of like worked your magic on?
So that's a big question. So
I know, I'm so sorry. I just realized, God damn, you're still talking.
let me try to break it into smaller pieces. So as I mentioned, this company has been around for a good number of years. It was started by 2 brothers, and sort of the founding myth I tell, which is not the real story, but it's a good story to tell at a trade show, is that 2 brothers graduated with degrees in philosophy and history and a love of film. So obviously they got great jobs, $100,000 a year, totally able to support themselves. Or they started making pins that they sold sort of on the streets of Soho. And of their favorite people, Marilyn Monroe, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein. Some of them I'm putting my hands here because were on my chest, because they were little pins that you would like put on your lapel. And they made them in their like mom's oven with polymer clay, and they built them all themselves. And it was a huge success. But that it's a young man's game to want to sell on the streets of Manhattan, and isn't it so much better to get into stores? So that's sort of their first line, and then it just really became about how can we express these characters, these people, these personalities into different mediums. So then it wasn't just Monk's The Scream on a little pin, then it became on a pillow. And then, oh wow, let's put a sound chip in the pillow so that it actually screams when you hug it. Okay, and now let's make an inflatable version of the scream. And now let's make sticky notes with the scream. And that it's a to-do list, a to-do and a to-dread list, actually, because that's what that sort of image evokes. So it's really about sort of obsessively knowing who our customer is. And you're right, it's that smart customer. It's somebody who wants to laugh, who wants to think a little bit, has some sort of knowledge of a topic and wants to explore it and really dive into it. It's a cliche to say nerd out, like celebrating the nerdy in all of us, right? But it's totally true. It's geek chic.
Yeah,
and that's what we've got. And in our office, there's about 11 of us, and we all come from different backgrounds. We have film majors, we have philosophy majors, we have people who have masters in art history, we have published writers, we have business people. I mean, from all sort of cultures and backgrounds, and we come together every week and we sit around a table and we just obsess, and we just brainstorm for at least an hour every single week. And the majority of the time, what comes out of those meetings is horrible. It is stuff that will never sell. It's the worst ideas you've ever heard. I mean, my God, may HR never listen to these conversations. I mean, some of the things that we get into brainstorming would make us laugh hysterically and then immediately have to be thrown into the garbage. But from that comes, genius ideas and really fun, exceptional things. And then we dive into the research of it because we want to be that really intellectual company. So we don't want to just put a thing on a thing on a thing. We want to understand the who, the what, the how, the why, the where, right? It's those old school 5 journalism questions. Who wants this? Why do they want this? How is it better than everybody else's? How is it highlighting and celebrating the person, the character, the intention? And how is it different from everything else that's already out there? And we just obsess and obsess, and it takes us a long time. We're not fast to market. We go slow because we want to get it right, and we want to make sure that every time you touch it and you pick it up, it feels different and it feels great. And I think that's what separates us, and that's what makes us really fun. And so in my time there, of the 6 years I've been there, we really, we have our hero product. Our hero product are mugs, right? That's what we're mostly known for. I have one in my hand here. If you see me on the screen, it's a big giant. This is the history of art.
Oh, yeah.
Lascaux cave paintings all the way here to some Warhol. And every little detail is crucial to us. And so this is the hero of the line. So we always try to have a hero every season. We develop new products every season. So we try to make more interesting mugs. We do a lot of technology with heat changing. So
I love those. That's what we wrote.
In and it's something else, right? So our best-selling one is our dinosaurs. It's dinosaurs in the wild, as I imagine they were 65 million years ago. And then you put your coffee in, and then they're museum quality skeletons, or it's the night sky and its constellations. It's, the planets, and then every single fact you could ever want to know about the planets and their distance from the sun and their moons and their diameters. I mean, kooky, crazy things that it's a real celebration of the curiosity and the intellect. So I don't know. Did I ramble enough? Did I answer? Did I get?
Well, I'm sitting here like thinking, okay, I'm so happy I wrote the hero products, because all the ones you just listed, I wrote for Rock Paradise, because for the kids section, even though Aaron, who I was with, is all, do kids drink coffee? I'm like, well, cocoa, like, hot, like whatever. But who are some of the people, like, I'm assuming you sell a ton of museums, like where are some of the places at your place that you feel like are, not without calling somebody else, but like if you had a perfect marriage of like, your product and a retailer, like what does that look like?
So, I mean, I would say our perfect placement is really any store that our customer shops in. That's a real throwaway answer. I hope.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just want to find the person that loves us. And yeah, if you speak generally, the person who loves us is probably someone who likes to spend their Sunday at a museum and we're in the gift shop, or they like to go to their independent bookstore, get 2 new reads, and then, get a pin set of, Albert Einstein and the formula for, E=mc². But we really also, anywhere where you can look for that, especially with our personalities. It's like anywhere where that message needs to be told, that's where I want to be. So if it's a female empowerment, if it's, a BIPOC message, if it's diverse voices, if it is looking to celebrate writers or to celebrate STEM, which is so crucial, especially in those kids departments, I want to be there. I want to have a place. I want to have a voice. I want to make sure that I'm curating my message for what they're doing. And I want to have fun while we're there, because ultimately, if someone picks up my product and doesn't get a laugh, I walk away. let's find something else for you because that's not the right thing for you. And then you won't come back.
Because you guys have everything from soaps to fingerprints to the dolls to mugs to decks to post-its. What else? What else am I missing? Because I mean, I think, like I said, I think part of the reason why, like, for years I've been looking at it and I love it, but it's like, where is this going to fit? Because it is so smart. It is, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, my concepts are like the cheeky, the fun, like the birthday girl, the table. I mean, and placing it was like, it was so great to be able to place it at Rock Paradise because of the rocks and the dinosaurs and everything that we do in the kids department. It was like, this is perfect. But when okay, I'm gonna put you in a merchandiser's position. So talk to me about some of, like, creating a concept based around some of those products. Women's empowerment is one that I love. Like, like, give some people some great ideas about, like, what they could pair it with and where it could go in their store, because I think I love hearing reps talk about that and people within the manufacturing, like, them curating, like, in a perfect world, this is how we see it. Like, this is what we would love to merchandise it if this was our store.
Yeah. So that's a great example. So I always say, when I'm presenting for an exhibition or an event, right? I'll talk about it that way. I like to give people what I call the low hanging fruit and sort of the reach for it. And the low hanging fruit on like an empowerment program would be Rosie the Riveter, right? She's a really popular character. She's got her fist up. She's ready to fight. We can do it, and embodying that spirit of sort of that, that woman who's going to step up and make things happen. So, layer her in. We've got sticky notes with Rosie the Riveter. We've got pins. We've got hardworking lip balm. We've got empowerment mint tins. So, that's your base. But now let's reach, let's educate, let's throw in some unexpected personalities into this. Women that we should know of and we don't know enough of. Someone like Shirley Chisholm, who was a powerful political activist who, worked for the Equal Rights Act. It was a really important community grassroots organizer. People, even like Frida Kahlo, brilliant artists who just taught us to embrace ourselves. You don't have to conform to what other people are looking for. Then we've got, brilliant writers like Dickinson and Austen. Throw them in there. They were groundbreaking, ahead of their time. So then you want to layer that in and try to find out, what else can make this sort of perfect, this curated selection. And that's how I would do it.
Since you come out of the publishing company, I would guess, a shit ton of books that you could say, and if you write books with this line, I would suggest you pair them, because I'm all about cross merchandising lines, because I think it just tells such a deeper story. Because to me, merchandising is storytelling, and really, create, and that's part of the beauty of concepting something, is really creating this thing and cross merchandising products like yours. And since you're out of the publishing company, I bet you're able to give them suggestions on, this is a fabulous book, and this is what I would show it. Not that most companies do that, but I just think you would be the perfect person to do that with.
No, listen, I was listening to your podcast, actually, the one you had earlier with the lady from the Boutique Hub. And she has my favorite motto in the whole world. Like, we should all, embroider samplers and have this in our offices, which is community over competition.
Thank you.
My favorite phrase ever.
Me too.
I heard her speak at a conference about a year ago, and she also said that, and I'm in love with this phrase. I think it's really important to make sure that you are telling your retail partners the best thing for them to sell. And the reality is, it might not be what I have, but if you lead them astray, or if you give them advice that will ultimately hurt them so that you can make a sale today, you're killing all your sales for the future. You have to make sure, I really believe you have to make sure that we are in this together to create that experience of walking into a store and saying, wow, I'm going to shop here all the time. This is my curated message. You can't just throw in your bestseller because you've got to move 100,000 units for some reason. You really got to work with them to find the best product for them. And sometimes which, it goes against every instinct as a salesperson. Sometimes you have to tell the retailer, no, you like X, Y, and Z. Great. X and Y are yours, but I'm not going to sell you Z. I don't think it's going to work for you.
I love that. Thank you.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it because, and then if they really push you, fine. I'm sending it to you with a warning. And it's really because I know how it sells. I know what the reaction is. I know a little bit more about how it's tracking. And yeah, I'm definitely, been wrong before. And a retailer said, "Ha, you told me not to get it." And I sold 1 million of them. And I swear it's not a tactic. I really am just trying to help that person find the right avenue. And if someone says to me, "I'm looking for this," and I don't have it, I see a lot of vendors at shows be like, "I'm sorry, I don't have it." And that's the end of the conversation. And I don't do that. I say, "Well, let me introduce you to my friend down the hall, or let me walk you over to this person, or, I can't leave my booth, but let me write down where you should go and make sure you told them Trudi sent you over here." So that they know that, you're coming with a recommendation, and take them really seriously and make sure you're showing them the best of the best. And ultimately, I think that will serve us. And in my career, it served me very well because I think it's important to have this sort of openness and this honesty, because at the end of the day, all we have is our reputation. And if I told you something that doesn't work, you're never going to trust me again. But if it worked, you're going to remember it worked. You're going to remember that I was kind. You're going to remember that I helped you in another avenue. And then we're just going to keep working together over and over again.
I love that philosophy. And that's the reason why I love Ashley's philosophy because a lot of people get really, especially, retail that's so close to each other, and everyone's caught, like everyone's worried about someone carrying this line and that line. And I learned it from Fred a long time ago. It was like, don't worry what everyone else is doing. You do your thing, you show it your way, like don't worry. But that does, a lot of people do worry about that. But the touching on the being honest with your customer, that this one, that, it's the same thing. It's like when I had my stores, I would tell my staff, like, if the person does not look good in that, do not tell them it looks good on them, because they're going to go home to their husband or wife and they're going to go, "Look what I bought." And their husband or wife is going to go, "Why did they tell you that?" Like it's that honesty is and that's what I've built my reputation on, of being honest, and it's a relationship, and ideally it's a relationship you're going to have with somebody now all the way up until whether you change 2 or 3 jobs, but you're always going to be able to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, like, whatever, like, I'm in a new company," but just because it's a relationship and you trust that person. And I think that is so huge.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the gift industry, right? We should be better. We're not selling widgets. We're not, we're selling a lifestyle. We're selling a story. We're selling an experience. And we're not, for the most part, we're not selling things that people have to survive. So to act like it's just a disservice. We really want to make sure that we are really encompassing and we're looking at the bigger picture, because retail is retail. There's tons of stores, there's tons of things to buy. And if we segment and if we fight, it's just going to sink all of us. But if we come together as a community and share our best practices and share how we're doing, and no one has to give away the secret sauce, but we can at least be more open to raise everybody up.
Yeah, it makes our industry stronger. I mean, I'd said that because when Steven opened up in Las Vegas, I heard a mix of, we're so excited to, what's that going to do to us? And all the buyers are going to spend all their time in that showroom. And I'm like, look, it's really good for the industry. It's really good for the building. It's really good. It means people that maybe didn't do that show before, that Steven brings to the shows, like, it means there's more people, and maybe they don't see your showroom that time, but it means it's bringing people in. It's more eyes everywhere in the show, and it just makes the show or showroom or retailer, whatever it is, stronger, because there's more people. I mean, it's now becoming more of a destination and more of a destination. And I mean, I love that. Thank you for saying that, because that's one of those things where I'm like, always feel like I'm on my soapbox.
No, it's important. And let me tell you, I can, as a vendor not in Stephen Young's showroom, I could tell you, I wrote 15 orders because he flew a buying group in. And
Exactly.
I would not have gotten, maybe I would have gotten them on the road and maybe I would have seen them later, but I got a chance to meet with 15 buyers who I normally wouldn't have seen and placed orders with all of them. And it was great. And I went up to thank him. And
I love that.
at Bar George and had a coffee. So it's really, this is what it's about. We should be open, we should be helping, because the stores can't just buy one line. It would be a very boring store. So, we all want to be there.
I have no idea this conversation is going to go this way. I'm not going to lie. I'm really loving this. Tell me, so you guys, as a team for your brand, you guys all sit together, do you all have participation in ideas of products that you roll out? Because you told me a story about your niece talking about the hairpins. So talk a little bit about that. And like, what's everybody, is it collectively you all work together and create things?
Yeah. So, well, first I'll tell you. Let me retell you the story so that everyone can hear it, because it's one of my favorite stories. So, I have a 9-year-old niece who's very precious and very adorable, and of course I am the aunt, so I do whatever she tells me to do. I need this squishmallow. I need this whatever. Of course, add it to your wish list. Here it is. So we were out shopping and she wanted some hairpins. She's got very long, beautiful curly hair and she wanted some hairpins. And I said, sure, of course, whatever you want. And she picked up these, poop emoji hairpins. And, listen, I love a good poop joke. Who doesn't? And I looked at her and I said, Ziva, we are smart, capable, intelligent women. And we're not going to put literal shit on our heads, okay? We are going to put something that shows that we are smart and sophisticated. And I went back to the office and I said, well, how can we do this? And I told a story at a brainstorming session and we said, let's make hairpins. And so then we're like, okay, we could make dinosaurs, we could make the flowers of great paintings, we could make cephalopods, we could do all these things. And so, from one idea, everyone just starts piling on these ideas. And we have this like brilliant artistic team that starts like instantly sketching out things in a notepad. And the package was born. And it's funny, I just so happen to have a package.
Oh, look at that.
So here, these are our great flowers of art. So you could look at them and you can see a whole bunch of things, right? It could just be 3 great hairpins. It could just be 3 great flowers, or it could be a Van Gogh in O'Keeffe and the water lily from Monet. And then it's a whole nother angle. So that's what I mean when we try to really obsess about the customer and the need. So there's lots of hairpins out there. There's lots of different flowers out there, and there's lots of different art. So how can we make this sort of great package that you want to pick up and use over and over again? And that's how this line was born. And it came out now almost about a year ago, hugely successful. And at first there was some hesitancy. It's like, well, we can just buy poop emoji hairpins. Why would anybody want this? And then I would tell this story and people would instantly buy the whole program. And then the next show, they were great. They were huge sellers. What do you have new? How can we buy more? So it was great.
What, did your niece get one package of every single one of them, I hope?
Of course she did. And she wears them all the time. And now I feel like I'm supplying the entire middle school with hairpins. And it's not just for girls, they're for everybody, everyone who has a little extra hair that they want up. And it's really fun, and it's fun developing it, and it's fun seeing, and I have to tell you, out of all the hairpins we've done, not all of them were winners, right? You can't look at a line and make 10 things and 2 things fail and think, oh, we can't do any more in this line. You just have to realize those 2 things didn't resonate. That wasn't their time. So let's focus on what did work, and let's make more of that, and let's play around and have more fun. In this game, here's a great another phrase, right? You have to have that entrepreneurial mindset. You can't be afraid of failure. You have to embrace failure. You have to look at it as a learning opportunity. And for every product that fails miserably, you have to just look at the who's, the whys, the hows, and keep working on it. And then you never know. Maybe someone is going to come 2 years from now, you still are sitting on the inventory and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
I seriously feel like I'm like sitting here like you everything you're talking about. I mean, this is no bullshit, but literally everything you're talking about is like, so what my favorite phrase is, failure is the best instructor. Like it's, I mean, honestly, like I think a lot of times people will take failure as a bad thing. And for me, it's like, if I didn't lose my stores at Fred Siegel, I wouldn't have been in anthropology. If I didn't, go through working with Sweet XO and they decided to close all the stores, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I feel like each of these quote failures has also kind of driven you in a different direction that you might have not ever thought you were going to go. And then to be able to sit back and look at the lessons like, okay, what did I learn from that? But I think a lot of people take failure as a bad thing. And it's like, I don't anymore. Like, I really, honestly, like, I feel like it's some of the best lessons I've ever had has been from quote failures.
Yeah, no, it's completely. And maybe it's like not the cool thing to say, but I believe in abundance and manifesting. I mean, if you put something out in the universe, what is it? You're just in saying your intention out loud, and then if you've said it out loud, well, now you feel like you have to act on it. So you can call it spiritual, you can call it a force, or you can just say, I wrote it and now I'm going to do it. But I believe that like failure is just a way to remind us that maybe that wasn't the right thing at that moment. And I just say to myself, it's the universe knocking on my door saying, not this door, but can you please turn around and look at what the door we've got over here, because this is really exceptional. Yep. You haven't been looking over there because you've just been too busy over there.
Yep.
Take a turn left and let's see what happens. And everything teaches. I mean, I could sit here for the next 5 hours and tell you one failure after the next, and one trade show where nobody showed up, and having your display doesn't even arrive, and you're driving to Michael's and Target and trying to build it all. But at the end of the day, those are the experiences that teach you to be nimble and quick and thoughtful, and realize who around you can be your support team. Who's going to laugh with you when it's 2 a.m. and you're in your hotel room crying because your samples didn't come and you had the worst day ever and your feet are killing you. It's like, let me call my 3 other vendor friends who have all been through this, because we're all honest.
Yep.
It's really crucial. One of my big sort of missions this year is I'm trying to say, let's not all say it was great. Right? You come back from market, and what's the first thing someone asks you? Well, how was market? And you're like, oh, it was great. What was the feeling? It was great. What did you buy? Great stuff. And maybe it's true. Maybe that was great. But 9 times out of 10, I probably wasn't so great. Maybe there was something that went wrong, or a line that didn't work, or an expectation that wasn't met, or you got a bad feeling from somebody. And if we're all keeping it inside, one, it's no good for us as human beings in this world. But then we create this expectation that it's got to be perfect every time. And if we're just all a little bit honest about sometimes how tough the journey is, we could share that, and we can learn from each other, and we can uplift each other in those moments of, don't cry alone. I'm coming to your hotel room with a bottle of wine, and I'm going to tell you the worst stories I've ever had.
Those are the best.
And they're the best nights, right? The worst night becomes the best night suddenly. So we shouldn't dwell on these things alone. I talk about a hard right in the conversation. Sorry about that.
Oh my God. But I'm loving this so much. You don't even know, because those who know me, I mean, I could flip the camera around and show you like my crystals, and every morning I pull a card and I have I mean, like, you're talking my love language, lady. Like, but it's, I believe that like, all of these philosophies and all of these beliefs of the universe and lessons and failure, I think that it's all how you look at it. And which makes me now want to ask you, because I hate talking about COVID, because I'm like fucking over it, but COVID forced, and this is what I will say, is that, and everyone's heard me say it before, is that I really believe that what COVID did was force a lot of people to pivot, and it forced a lot of people way out of their comfort zones. And those who were not, like going live and getting on like doing stories, and you didn't have a website set up, and like all those things that like you didn't want to do because we don't do social media, or I'm not comfortable. Literally, universally, it was like the universe is all, well, okay. And it just kind of very quickly ushered in a whole new breed of retailers, or a whole new breed of wholesalers as well. Like, especially if you look at New York now and the whole bulletin thing that's happening now, it's all these young energy, like it's the next wave. And it's like, I really believe COVID really forced a lot of people's hands, and really fast forwarded our industry into like a different, not different direction, but just a different like the younger ones are up and coming now, and they're up and coming way faster than it would have happened. So what did COVID and pivot look like for you at at Philosophers? Like, I'm guessing, like a lot of people, you were obviously closed.
We never closed.
Wow.
We worked from home, but we never closed. And we took we have a monthly cheese day.
Cheese day, like as in queso.
As in queso, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, one of the owners works at the very famous food co-op in Brooklyn, and he brings in, you know, massive amounts of delicious cheeses and accoutrements and crackers. So we took our cheese day online. That was our biggest pivot. You know, for us, COVID, I mean, there was still a need for things, right? I think people went online shopping more than they ever have before.
Yeah.
But, you know, for us, the pivot in COVID was to not take things for granted. I mean, we had taken for granted that everybody would be shopping in a certain way, in a certain style and at a certain pace for a really long time. And we had to relearn a ton of things. Never in my life did I think I'd have to understand trade routes and shipping supplies and container sizes, right? If you had said to me 40Q before COVID, I'd have looked at you like you had 4 heads. But now I understand that that's a 40-foot container that's oversized, that can go into certain ports and need certain chassis when it comes off. A language I never wanted to have to learn, but we all had to learn different things quite quickly so that we could all become valuable in the conversation. And we had to learn how to talk about our business to retailers in a way we'd never talked before. The cost of goods could go up every couple of years just because, you know, that's inflation, that's how the market works. But all of a sudden, everything cost more. And where I was never transparent with retailers about shipping costs and landed costs and cost of goods and labor costs. And I never said how long things really took to make, because who cares, right? If you don't want to know how the stuff is made, you just want it to show up at your door so you can sell it. And being able to sort of speak openly about the process from creation in someone's brain in a dream at 2 a.m. to in your store is so much longer. And in what COVID did is make it even longer. And everyone had to learn patience. And right. And it was our job to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Like, this product isn't going to arrive for this. And I know you really are desperate for the red pair of sneakers, but I don't have the red pair of sneakers, and nobody has the red pair of sneakers, but I've got the green pair and the blue pair. So let's be grateful we have sneakers, and let's try to make something happen here.
Yeah.
So I would say that's really more of our pivot. We didn't change our product line because we, like I said, we obsess over our customer. So our customer still wanted it, if, you know, COVID or not COVID. The things we were making were still relevant and important. But it was how we told the story of how it got to you, the retailer, and how we were able to manage the process. And that's was a more learning experience than anything else.
I feel like a lot of retailers, a lot of us really needed to know that in the beginning anyway, because yes, things cost more. And it's like, I still hear people like, oh my God, like, I can't believe how expensive it is. And it's like, what did you think? Like, and even like New York Now, it was a smaller show. And I was at a store, I was at RW Guild, and I'm shopping, and there's a lady that had one of the trade show bags. And I'm like, oh, I see you exited the show. And she's like, oh, I can't believe it. There's like hardly anyone there. And like, there, it was so small. And it's almost like the retailers forgot that the show had to recoup as well. It's like, it's not going to magically go back to what it was like pre-COVID. Like, they also are having struggles just like you as a retailer. And it's like that patience thing. It's like, it's going to come back and it's going to look different. But to assume and be like, oh, I can't believe it's just not the same. No, it's not. It's probably never going to be the same. But, you know, PS, either is your store. Like it, and I think a lot of people, retailers, because their business ramped up so much. I mean, like, everybody was busy. And I think now what I'm having to tell my retailers is like, people are like, oh my gosh, it's so slow now. We're so slow. I'm like, well, what does it look like compared to your 2019 numbers? And have you had growth from 2019, like as if COVID didn't happen, you didn't have all that crazy business? And they're like, well, yeah, then we're up about 20%. I'm like, there you go. I mean, COVID was a beautiful gift in the sense of you had time off. You didn't want it, but you had time off. It came with a lot of pain in the ass, but all of a sudden it was like you had major business and it was like you couldn't keep stuff in fast enough. So it was like, it's now, I think now everything's settling, and the system and supply chain and all that. But I think retailers, I think retailers should know what it takes to put it out. So they do understand the chain of why it may be more expensive now. And I mean, not that it shouldn't be obvious, because I don't understand how nobody thinks it's not more expensive after everything we've gone through. But
the reality is, vendors like myself, we did a great job of making it seem like magic, making it seem seamless.
100%.
That's great. One of my other hat that I wear is I work with the GHTA, which is the Gift and Home Trade Association, and I actually sit on their education committee. And one of the big webinars that we're having coming up is about vendor margins. And I think, there's always conversations about retailer margins, and everyone could just really do better in learning more about their partners, right? I think that's really crucial to sort of bring it back to that beginning of this conversation. It's that active listening. We all have to be actively listening to our partners and understand more. So I think retailers do a fairly good job of explaining to people, well, this is my rent, and this is my staff, and this is my labor, and this is why you need to give me Keystone Plus.
I'm like nodding my head.
Right. But vendors don't do this great job. And one of the steps that this webinar is hopefully going to do is begin that conversation. And once again, it's not giving away the secret sauce. It's not confidential information, but does everybody understand how much tariffs are? Does everyone understand how much containers are? Port labor, extra shipping on trucks, labor to get it to the warehouse. And then if you need price stickers on it, because you have to have a special price sticker with the name of your store on it, like that I've got to pay someone 50 cents a sticker to put that on. I mean, all these costs, we need to be better at explaining what they are, because nobody has infinite margin. And to be able to just be a little bit more honest and understand everyone's got to hurt a little so that we could all make the most money, because this is a business, right? I'm not here to lose money. The store is not there to lose money. The customer wants to spend money but feel like they got a good deal for the value. They walked out happy. So how do we make all this work? And I think it really comes down to that concept of being honest and being transparent, so that we could all see how it works together, and then just build these better relationships to get this community back.
So I'm going to ask you a question, because this just popped in my head, because we hear it a lot as retailers. So I would love to hear what your take on it is. And you know what I'm going to say, right? What about it's always a fear, not always, but there's a lot of fear based around Amazon. Yeah. And my customer can just pull it up in the store, and she can look at the price, and she can buy it on Amazon. I will tell you my answer, and then I want to hear your answer, because my answer is humans are instant gratification. People are standing in your store, and yes, they may look at the Amazon price, but instant gratification, they want it right then. They don't want to, they're going to order it maybe, and it will come the next day or a couple days later, but humans are instant gratification. And if you put in the customer service element and exactly what you were talking about earlier of, being that person on the other end who's going to wrap it, who's going to check and see how did your friend love their new gift or blah, blah. Amazon's never going to do that. Like Amazon's going to never remember your child's birthday or how's your dog or bring your dog out a bowl of water. Like that's just not going to happen. Amazon's always going to be there, and that is very much a reality. But I think that if you as a retailer make the experience totally different, that $1 or $2 fucking dollars that they're going to save there, you're not going to lose that sale, and you're still going to lose some. But honestly, like I think that if you pair it with that customer service and that experience, that that $1 or $2 that the person's going to say is not, it's like, whatever, I need it now. Like I'd rather get it from you. You wrap it beautifully. You care. What's your answer?
So my answer is going to come in the form of a story. So I was at a trade show also in Las Vegas, and I have my computer, like most people, I have stickers, lots of stickers, lots of different things. And one of the stickers I have is the quote, "To the stars who listen and the dreams that are answered." And it's a quote from a romance novel that I'm obsessed with, and I really, really love it. But when she came by, and she instantly recognized, it's like a cult. If you know the quote, you know the quote. You're in the cult. She instantly recognized it. And we started having a conversation. Well, it turns out she owns an independent bookstore. And then she takes out a piece of paper in this conversation, and she's like, "Have you read this? Have you read this? Have you read this?" And, "Oh, I really think you'd like this." And at the end of the conversation, we have about 20 books on a piece of paper. And she rips it off the notepad as we're wrapping up, and she hands it to me as she's leaving. And I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, this is the list of books. You have to go get all these." And I said, "Yeah, but you own a bookstore. So the next thing you should do is just ask me for my credit card, and then you're going to send me all these books." I said, don't let me just walk off. I used your knowledge. I used your, your history. You spent all your time reading these books and curating this. If I go to Amazon, yeah, maybe I've saved $2 on a book. I never would have found any of these. And, we had this kumbaya moment and a big hug, but, she went back to her store. She sent me all this entire list of books. I loved every single one of them. And now she's my go-to girl. I live in New York City, and I have a woman in Missouri who packs my book orders for me because she's just,
I love this story.
Incredible curated experience. It's the Main Street Books. I'm totally going to give her a shout out because she's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just really wonderful. So look, as a vendor, I understand the importance of meeting the customer where they want to shop. There's just customers who want to shop on Amazon. So let them shop on Amazon. But I think for the person who doesn't know what they want, or is looking for that uniqueness, that discoverability, that's why independent stores have to look creative and different and fresh and keep their inventory changing, because that offers a different experience. It's that whole experiential purpose. I want to have an experience when I go to a store, whether it's how I'm warmly greeted, or the way the signage is, or the colors change, or the display always changes. I want it to feel, different and fun. And to answer the real question, which I totally averted,
no, that was
telling the story, is I think it's really crucial for a vendor to understand the perception of value and price. And I think it's really key that if you are going to sell on Amazon as a vendor, you have to be aware that showrooming, which is that thing you just talked about, where someone sees a mug in a store and they pull it up on Amazon and they're like, "Oh,
what's the term?"
Showrooming. They're using your store as a showroom.
Okay.
That it exists. And I think you have to be as proactive as possible to keep the price on Amazon at the level that your store would be selling it at. And that's just the reality. So for instance, at the Guild, we have a policy in place where we don't allow Amazon resellers. We are the only reseller on Amazon, and that price is the same price as our website, and that same price as if you were to do like a 2.5, markup.
Oh,
and
thank you.
More than that, then that works in your market. If you're selling it less, then you've got the deal. But I think it's really crucial that you're just aware of the value of your product and how it's perceived and where you're selling it.
Okay, we're getting long in here, and I'm totally fine getting long because I'm a talker. But you just touched on something, and now I want to talk about it because we never talk about this in the podcast, and it's 2.5. It makes me insane to go to showrooms, apparel and gift, and they're like, "This is I'm holding something up for those of you who are watching, but this is $27 and we sell it for 2.0. I'm like, "On your website?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, who's paying the freight?" And or where you like lines like I forget who, but what they do holiday packaging, like personal care holiday packaging, they'll pack it together, a lotion, a gel, and a soap bar. And you buy it for 22 and they have a sticker on it that's MSRP for 44. I'm like,
yeah.
are you paying the shipping? Like for retailers, and there's a lot of retailers that still go by the 2.0 markup, and 2.0 Keystone is not even covering your freight. Like I can't put it, I have to say like 2.5 is the lowest markup you should be working on. And I know this is a total random, I'm really going to go off now, but 2.5 is the lowest you should go. That is literally paying at least your freight, especially now with how high freight prices are. Like I was really bad when I had my stores. Like I didn't even look at freight what was when I had my stores at Fred Siegel. I literally would open up the PO, and that's when we were working on Keystone. And it's like, you're talking about like 15 boxes of apparel that must weigh at least 30 pounds each. And I wasn't looking at the freight price, and I wasn't building it into my cost. I mean, what an idiot, but people are still doing that. And I felt like because you touched on it that I had to like go down that wormhole. Sorry, everyone.
No, it's really important. It's really important. And I think that, the reality is Keystone for so long is what we all did our pricing on. And it's really a new revolution that, to say Keystone is dead. But you have to factor these things in, and you have to really understand the price. And I think that the more the cost of goods has gone up, the more the corresponding retail price has to go up. And that's another thing, is people have to, it's going to be a lot of training to the customer that things you spent $5 on in the past are just not $5 anymore. So there's tension, right? It's a pain point. It's something we're all working on, and hopefully people did it in slow enough steps that it sort of incrementally built up. But it's probably a conversation for another time, but it's a crucial part of this transparency and this open. And I feel like this conversation that I'm starting to have with the education group at GHGA on margins is that way to help explore. And what we're looking at, and it's also very different, just to say, since we talked about it, a small independent mom and pop and a chain and a big, huge supersized store. I mean, all of them have to have different expectations of Keystone, because all of them have different expectations of distribution and warehousing and freight. So it becomes like, we've just hit the tip, and it's a massive iceberg that we'll have to save for another time.
Yeah, I love this conversation. I'm going to ask you two questions that I ask everybody at the end of it. I'm sure you heard them. Is you are obviously very busy. How do you find balance, and where do you find inspiration?
So I find balance in, this is a weird thing to say, but I find it in breathing. It's really, really important to breathe.
Breathing or reading?
Breathing.
Okay.
In, out, in, out, in, out. I think it's just absolutely crucial in moments of stress and in moments of happiness. You have to remember to breathe in the good and breathe out the bad. And if you're not doing that, at the start of every day, at the close of every day, and even before this podcast, I did like 3 really deep cleansing breaths to just center myself, and that is the balance. And also, science. Oxygen creates energy, and energy gives you the ability to just do and do and do and do, which is really crucial. And then inspiration, you just keep your eyes open. I like to sit in a cafe with a cup of coffee, and I like to watch the world around me. I want to see what people are wearing. I want to see how they interact. I want to see what they're carrying. I love to ride the subway here in New York to see what people are reading and their accessories. And inspiration is everywhere. You just have to keep your eyes open. Don't look down, just look up.
Oh my God, I love you so much. The last one is, what is a piece of advice that you would, I'm going to say, what is a piece of advice you would give retailers today?
Oh, this is a tricky one. This is a hard one. There's so much I want to tell retailers. But ultimately it's that it's a long game, and don't be afraid to have conversations. Ask for what you need, ask for what you want, but be open to the conversation. Because there's someone else on the other end of that, and they want to support you and they want to help you. We just got to work through it.
I love this conversation so much. You have no idea. Like, I knew I loved you when we connected the show, and there's just something about you. And now sitting here talking to you for an hour, like, I know why. Like, you have this energy that is so good. And like Fred Siegel used to say, energy creates energy. And sister, you created it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. And I hope we just continue conversations. That's what it's all about.
Yes,
Good
yes.
conversations all the time.